Shalom to the nation of Israel. First and foremost, before I get into my lesson, I want to start off by giving all praises unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone that teach and that rule well today. A salutation also to the fellow laborers that's in the ministry and the believers that scatter worldwide in all truth and sincerity, day in and day out. Once again, I'm the brother Shaquat Gabar coming at you with another quick lesson. And right before I get into this lesson, as always, this message and these videos goes out to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which we are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites according to the Bible, and also to the Israelite foreigners that scattered amongst the heathen nations, and they may take on the physical appearance or look of another nation. But if your bloodline goes back to Negro, Latino, or Native American descent by the seed of your father, you are considered an Israelite as well. Shalom. Hey, so I'm just going to get into a quick lesson, and the subject matter of this lesson is going to go into the scriptures, which I'm going to go into the scriptures about the downfall of the biblical Edomites, okay, which are the so-called white race today, chiefly and mainly when it comes to the elites that's in power, okay, when it comes to these central bankers, okay, as they're known today as the Illuminati, okay, but we know about these the powers that be, okay, when it comes to the top families of the Edomites that are ruling today, out of Europe, okay, when it comes to the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, Gettys, okay, the Oppenheimers, okay, the elites that's in power, okay, that's ruling out of Europe and ruling the whole world, okay, especially when it comes to their stronghold, America, okay, because this is their stronghold, okay, as they have America, set up America, when it comes to business wise, financial wise, okay, when it comes to trades, okay, when it comes to the dollar, okay, which the dollar is owned by these elites, okay, these central bankers, okay, and when it comes to their military might, okay, which is the sword, the blessing of the sword, okay, or Esau Edom, okay, and when it comes to their policies, what they're pushing, okay, here in America and standing out, okay, because you see now when it comes to President Trump, Donald Trump, okay, that's pushing all these executive orders and these laws now that he's putting into place, okay, which he's doing the bidding of these elites, okay, starting with Trump, okay, the president, on down to the the lesser luminary ones, okay, when it comes to the government, okay, when it comes to the politics, like I say, the president, the mayors, the senators, okay, the Supreme Court, okay, all of them are doing the bidding of the elites of Esau Edom, okay, and those that's in league with them when it comes to these other nations, okay, that's in power, okay, that's doing the bidding of these elites here in America and worldwide, okay, mainly worldwide when it comes to these different regimes, okay, these other countries, man, okay, that's in league with these elites, but chiefly Esau Edom, okay, that's in power, man, okay, and now we to the point, these elites ready to forge or attempt, okay, to establish the NWO, okay, and that's what we're witnessing now, okay, well, when it comes to their policies, man, okay, and when it comes to their legislations, when it comes to their executive orders, okay, like I said, they use, the middleman, okay, when it comes to these governments, but really these elites are the one that's pulling the string, okay, but the whole point of this lesson is that, hey, who the world called Christ, okay, which his name is Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach in the Hebrew, okay, is going to return and take him out of power, okay, at the peak of the Third World War, because eventually this place, America, like I said, their stronghold, is going to be destroyed by the way of thermonuclear fire at the peak of the Third World War. Also, the time of Yahweh Shai's second coming, by the way of the chariots, okay, or what the world call UFOs, okay, the Lord is gonna invade the earth, okay, which He made, okay. And when it comes to Esau, Edom, the NWO, okay, now we're to the point that as they are boasting in their, like I said, their military, their technology, okay, moving towards technocracy, AI, okay. And the main thing, okay, or the main prophecy, okay, which, we coming to that point that they want to establish a caste society, okay, as they're ready to bring a great, RESET, okay, which, now you're seeing these central bankers or these elites putting up CBDCs, okay, which is central bank digital currencies. Okay, we hear more and more of the talks of the smart cities, okay, carbon tax, okay, universal basic income, digital currency, everything moving towards electronic. Because the key prophecy that's we're about to witness, that's about to be implemented, okay, and I say implemented, is the RFID micro, which is known as the mark of the beast in Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. Okay, as these elites want to bring a cashless society, okay, get rid of the dollar. Like I said, the dollar already owned to these elites. In America itself is already in trillions and trillions of debt to these elites. So now they want to obsolete the dollar and bring in a digital format, and that all ties into the MOTB, okay, the RFID micro. Okay, when it comes to the buying and selling, okay, when it comes to the hands and putting in people's hands, okay, and when it comes to the format of putting in people's brains or forehead, okay, when it comes to their miracles, okay, with the whole neural link and all that, and you seeing Elon Musk being part of Trump cabinet, okay, when it comes to the financial situation that he's over the treasury. But Elon Musk is known for, when it comes to his technician of the Neuralinks, okay, as well. And I'm trying to be careful, because now you talk about, Esau, Edom, and their agenda, okay, when it comes to their plans, okay, they want to, they'll strike your videos and all that, okay, but that's okay, because there's more and more about them being exposed, okay, mainly when it comes to the prophets, okay, start with the men of Great Millstone and the brother on down, okay, that's pushing this word, that's out there on the highways and byways, they're doing videos, okay, exposing Esau, Edom, okay, and telling them about their future, that eventually they ain't going to establish the NWO, thinking that they're going to rule forever, man, because that's their whole mind frame, thinking they're going to rule forever, okay. Now we're in their moment, okay, as they trying to, bring forth the NWO, man, okay. But like I say, Yahweh Shai is going to eventually come back by the way of the chariots and disappoint them, okay, take them out of power once this place America be destroyed, okay. The land of Israel, because the people that's over there are not the original inheritors of that land, okay. And when Yahweh Shai return, Yahweh Shai is going to establish the true biblical Hebrew Israelites, okay, kingdom, okay. When they're happening, once again, they're happening to be the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. And when Yahweh Shai return, he's only going to deliver the nation of Israel, start with the elect, which we're considered the 144,000 and the 1/3 that's destined to be saved, man. Okay? And that's going to be the true NWO. Okay? Because after America destroyed, okay, by the hands of Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, certain members of NATO, okay, out of Europe, going to turn on this place. Okay, they allies. Okay, when it comes to the European system, they're going to shoot their missiles upon this place and destroy it. Okay, and after the fire and smoke dies down, it's going to become a desert. Okay, uninhabited. Okay, but when the land of Israel, okay, the land of Israel going to be destroyed by fire. But the land of Israel gonna be built back up, or built up, when the kingdom is established under the rule of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, like I say, starting with the elect. Okay, because the elect is gonna be delivered from out of the destruction, from the thermonuclear missiles, by the way of the chariots. And it's gonna come upon a time the Lord gonna descend the elect, okay, here on the earth, the rule. And one of the first things that's gonna take place is these elites, okay, that's gonna be reserved from the thermonuclear fire or the destruction, as they're gonna be in their retreats. Okay, they're gonna be reserved to go into captivity. Okay, starting with the elites of Esau, Edom, and the rest of the heathen nations, man. Okay, because there's no salvation for these other nations. Salvation in the kingdom is only for the nation of Israel. And when the kingdom is established, these heathen nations are going to go into captivity. Okay? Hey, so, but now we're at the point that Esau, Edom trying to establish the NWO. And that's why you're seeing the earth such in a chaotic state. Okay? And as they got the saying amongst these elites, order out of chaos. Okay? So a lot of these things that's happening here on the earth, okay, when it comes to, turmoil and trauma or catastrophic events, or, a lot of these is these elites doing, okay, on the left hand side, okay, which Yahweh Shemawah Shai set up Esau, Edom to be in the power today. Okay, like I said, mainly these elites, man. Okay, and when it comes to these average Edomites that's ruling over here in America, okay, because we're in the time of their blessing, okay, but now we're at the point of they're bound that they cannot pass, man. Okay, as it comes to Esau, Edom, indulging and endorsing all type of wickedness, man. Because now we starting to see that they are the wicked that the Bible speak of, man. Okay, and the Lord is about to judge them, visit them. Okay, and it starts with them being exposed that they are the Edomites. Okay, it starts with their agenda, their plans. Okay, and like I said, when they introduce or implement the RFID micro, okay, that's what's going to speed everything up when it comes to the end. Okay, or they judgment. Okay, and we see the coming of martial law. Like I said, the technology. Okay, the AI taking over. Okay, as they proceed. Okay, to bring it to fruition. But eventually, like I said, Yahweh Shemawah Shai is going to disappoint them, man. But let me go ahead and get into the scriptures because I don't want to make this video too long. Okay, but this is Psalms chapter 49, verse 11. The inward thought is that the houses shall continue forever. It's going to Esau, Edom. Okay, and at this time now, okay, since they've been in rulership here in America, start here in America and throughout the world, okay, starting with with the EU mainly, or the European system, NATO, and America that came out of the European system, okay, mainly on Britain, okay, and from the time they came into power to now, here in 2025, they still have the thought that they're going to rule forever. Okay? And it says the inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. And that's part of the NWO that they want to try and establish. Okay? Yeah, but the scriptures already got it set. Okay, that they ain't going to be able to form it. Okay? Or come into fruition. And it says, and the dwelling places to all generation, they call their lands after their own names. And that's going to the biblical Edomites that's ruling today. Okay, they're going to conquer the whole world. Okay, which is one of the blessings of Esau, Edom, that during the time of Isaac, we know about the history of Isaac. Okay, had two sons. Okay, Esau and Jacob. Okay, and eventually Esau received the blessing. Okay, the runner-up blessing. Okay, because Jacob received the first. Okay, even though Esau was the elder. Okay, because according to the scriptures and according to the law, the elder get the first inheritance. Okay, but we know that Esau sold his birthright to Jacob. Okay, for red pottage. Okay, and that's all the will of Yahweh Shemawah Shai. Because eventually Jacob is the chosen. Okay, when it comes to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the 12 patriarchs, okay, of Jacob's sons. Okay, the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, the promises has been given unto us. okay, the true biblical Hebrew Israelites, man, okay. And ever since, that it's changed when it comes to the forefathers of the Edomites, Esau, and our forefather Jacob. Okay, when when Esau sold his birthright for red pottage, okay, and eventually Jacob received the blessing when he disguised himself as Esau, okay, through the help of his mother Rebekah, okay, and Jacob received the blessing, the first blessing, the order, the inheritance, okay, eventually they rule forever, to be the Lord's chosen people, okay, leading to the covenants, the law, statutes, and commandments, the covenants, okay, and Esau received his blessing, okay, having the fatness of the earth by ruling by the way of the sword, okay, and that's what we're seeing now, okay, through their sword, through their military might, their technology, okay, their laws, their strict legislations, okay, so, now we're in the time of Esau-Edom rulership, okay, but now we're coming to the end, okay, and the prophecy showing that, okay, first of all, the Lord set up the prophets, okay, to prophesy the downfall, okay, of his kingdom, and tell them about their future, that they're not going to establish the NWO, okay, and that eventually the Lord going to take them out of power, and they're going to go into captivity upon us, okay, and that's what these elites that don't want to hear, okay, that's why now they want to come with censorship on the internet, demonization against the Hebrew Israelites, hate speech, hate group, etc. Okay, because they seeing the prophets out there teaching, and they seeing Israel waking up. Okay, and they seeing the increase of UFO sightings, which are the chariots. Okay, the angels making their presence known. Okay, they know these elites. They know exactly what they are. Okay, that's why these elites have their, when it comes to the military might, the Space Force, weapons out of space. Okay, because they're gonna come a point in time, like I said, at the peak of the Third World War, Yahweh Shah is going to intervene as these nations are going to be fighting against each other. Okay, and Yahweh Shah is going to intervene by the way of the chariots, and the Lord going to put the spirit on these nations to fight against Yahweh Shah and the angels. Okay, and that's going to come to no prevail. Okay, because Yahweh Shah is going to completely destroy Esau, Edom, and these heathens' power, man, at the peak of the Third World War. Okay, but now we're in the time of Esau, Edom blessing, and now we're on the verge of them moving more strictly to establish or make an attempt to establish the NWO. Okay, so that's them thinking in their mind when it comes to their dwelling places. Okay, that they're going to dwell forever. Okay, throughout all generations. And you hear Esau talking about some by 2055, 2070, 2080. Okay, everything they're gonna still be in rulership, but more advanced technology. Okay, now we're at the time they talking about moving towards transhumanism. Okay, mixing man with machine. Okay, artificial birth. Okay, birth pods, cloning. Yeah, this is the type of madness that Esau thinking, man. Okay, and at the same time to get rid of the existence of a higher power. Okay, a natural way of living. Okay, and ain't gonna be no genders, man and female no more. Okay, they just GMO food. Okay, because they had the mind frame of a God complex. Okay, through their technology. Okay, which they being deceived. Okay, like I said, on the left hand side, through Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Because Esau Edom represent the left hand side of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, ultimately when it comes to the spiritual demon Satan on the left hand. Okay, because Esau Edom power source at this time is Satan. Okay, which the word Satan or Shaitan in the Hebrew means adversary. Okay, so Esau Edom is the physical counterpart of Satan or the adversary here on the earth. Okay, against Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, but the Lord setting them up to be in that mind frame. Okay, to be the wicked. Okay, and us, the nation of Israel, once again, which happen to be so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, we are the righteous. Okay, and that's perfect balance that the Lord set up. Okay, because according to the scriptures, and what that's Proverbs 11:1. Okay, that a false balance is an abomination to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Let me see. Yeah, Proverbs 11, verse 1. A false balance is abomination to the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, but a just weight is his delight. Okay? And so when it comes to Esau, Edom being the wicked on the left hand side, that's part of the balance of the Lord. And the nation of Israel representing the right hand side of Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay, so that's balance. Okay, between when it comes to good and evil. Okay, it's starting with Esau, Edom. Okay, they are the wicked, and also these heathen nations that's on the left hand side. Okay, because like I said, the Lord is only dealing with the nation of Israel. Okay, which represent Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shema Shai, right hand. Okay, when it comes to righteousness, man. Okay, that's why the law, statute, commandments were only given to the nation of Israel. And when it comes to salvation in the kingdom, it's only going to be for Israel. Okay, but like I said, we're at the time now that Yahweh Shema Shai set Esau, Edom up into power, man. Let's get on with that. Daniel 4 and 17. This is Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones. And who are the holy ones? The nation of Israel. Starting with the prophets. Okay, the word holy means separate. Okay, and another way saying, and what separates us? Okay, first that we are the chosen, the Lord chosen people through the Spirit, and the covenants and the promise. Okay, when it comes to the law, statutes, commandments, will separate us from these other nations because we're above all nations. Okay, and another way saying the watchman is the prophets. Okay, that's out here, that's out there teaching, man. Okay, and constantly pushing his word. Okay, and part of the word mainly is the because we teach the word about repentance to our people. That they Israelites. Okay, they did not Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, which those are construct names or corporation names that Esau Edom put upon us, because they know who our true biblical nationality. They know who we are. Okay, but the Lord set up the prophets to go out and tell our people who they are. Okay, and when it comes to their biblical nationality, when it comes to their power, the true names, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai in the Hebrew. Okay, tell them about their true heritage. Okay, to repent, leave off from the ways of this world. Okay, that the false gods and the idols of this world that Yahweh Shema Shai is against. Okay, and we telling our people a great judgment is coming. Okay, but only the elect is going to be delivered. The 144,000 and 1/3. Because 2/3 of our people at this time, according to Zechariah chapter 13, verse 8, they're going to be cut off and judged at this time. And they're going to have to come back in the kingdom, being the sons and daughters of the elect. Okay? As we're about to enter to the time of Jacob's trouble at this time, 2/3 of our people are going to be judged, man. Okay, but us that's in the faith, we praying that we are the hopeful elect to be delivered, man. Okay? But let me get back into Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones. Okay, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men and give it to whomsoever he will and set up over it the basis of man. And so the time Esau Edom is in power. Okay, so and when it comes to the nations, out of all nations that the Lord created, okay, Esau Edom is the lowest. Okay, that what the word base mean. Okay, so this is the time now that they're in power, but it's of the will of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, but Esau Edom so in denial, and he don't have he's not a God-fearing nation. Okay, through his pride, he thinking that he got his own, he got his own self-gain and have the world in his hand by his own. He conquered the world by his own. Now Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai gave him the power for prophecy's sake. Okay. Let's get this. With that Psalms. Here we go. This is Psalms chapter 75, verse 5. Lift up not your horn on high, speak not with a stiff neck. And that's Esau Edom not at this time. Okay, horn in the scriptures represent power. Okay, and it says, speak not with a stiff neck. And the stiff neck in this case represent Esau Edom as they trying to attempt and think they're gonna force the NWO and rule forever. Okay, so they stiff neck represent their pride. For promotion coming neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but Yahweh by Shemyaw Shai is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. Okay, and so he put up Esau, Edom. Okay, and these heathen nations in power. Okay, but then we come to the point he's gonna take them down. Okay, when Yahweh Shai return, man. Okay, and eventually the kingdom of Israel gonna be established. Let's get let me see. Let's get this. Job chapter 14, verse 5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. So that's Esau Edom. So it's an appointed time, okay, that when it comes to Esau Edom bounds, okay, it's not going to pass, man. Okay, so it's a specific time that the Lord already got set that Esau Edom going to be taken out of power. Okay, when eventually when Yahweh Shai return. Okay, and we know we that close due to the signs. Okay, a prophecy that the Lord tell us what to look for or watch for when it comes to end time prophecy of Esau Edom ruling today. Okay, and a great judgment and their future enslavement. Okay, let me see. This is Job chapter 20, verse 4. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment? And that's Esau Edom. So this is a moment. Okay, that the triumphing of the wicked is short. Okay. Let me see. I'll jump down to 23. Job chapter 20, verse 23. Now, verse 22. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in strays. And that's these elites, okay? Because amongst these elites, they are divided amongst each other. A lot of infighting, okay? And on down to the average American citizens, you see the division amongst the government, okay? The right versus the left, okay? Which, when it comes to the politics, they both play the same role, okay? But it's just these are simple American citizens think they got a right, okay? But amongst these patriot white Americans or patriot Edomites, the average Edomites, they divided amongst each other. Okay, so as these elites mainly trying to force the NWO, they got a lot of infighting and they having a lot of problems. Okay, they're trying to establish this NWO. Other nations coming up against them. Okay, especially this word. Okay, breaking down their strongholds. Okay, and it says, and in the fullness of this, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in strays. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. And the wicked, in this case, when you look that word up, wicked in the blue letter, when it comes to the Hebrew, okay, it's going to the laborers, okay? In this case, the workforce. And you seeing what's going on here in America, the division here in America, okay? Because it's going to come a time of civil unrest, okay? Clash wars, race wars, okay? But in particular, citizens coming against the government. That's why you just not had Trump, passing laws now or executive orders, okay, funding police force, okay, the state of the polices, okay, with military aid, military help, okay, the Insurrection Act, okay. There's gonna come a time of martial law when it comes to civil unrest, man. Okay, you've seen a lot of exposure of Esau Edom, okay. When it comes to these elites agenda, which a lot of exposure, okay, that's being linked or coming out when it comes to these elites agenda, is all their own Edomite counterparts that's exposing them, man. Okay. Verse 23. And when he is about to fill his belly, Yahweh by Shemyaw Shai shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain upon him while he is eating. Okay, so the point that they think they're going to establish the NWO, they're going to bring, it's going to be chaos, and they set up their technology, their AI. Then they move to their final step, the implement the RFID micro, like Elder Apostle Tahar always say, amongst the Apostle of Great Millstone. Okay, he always say when they implement that RFID micro, everything's gonna move quick, man. Okay, and so now we at the time that they trying to fulfill their belly, but once they implement that RFID micro, okay, that's gonna be it for them. Okay, and we always go into the warning when it comes to you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans not to take that RFID micro. Okay, because according to Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, those that take it, they're going to be destroyed at the peak of the Third World War by the way of the missiles and the chariots bringing fire when it comes to the 2/3 of our people, man, that take it. Okay? So that's it on that. Let me get this. This is Job chapter 21, verse 16. Lo, their good is not in their hand. The counsel of the wicked is far from me. Okay, yeah, because when it comes to Esau, Edom, and these, when it comes to these elites' agenda and the nation that's in league with them, and when it comes to their counsel of the NWO, and we ain't gonna have no part of that. Okay, when it comes to establishment, okay, or rulership, man. Okay, because their counsel is to keep us down as a nation. Okay, Psalms, the 2nd chapter, go into that. Psalms, the 83rd chapter. Okay, they want to destroy us as a nation, man. Okay, so part of their counsel, the NWO, is to cut us off as a nation. Okay, it says, lo, their good is not in their hand. The counsel of the wicked is far from me. How oft is the candle of the wicked is put out? Yeah, so they NWO. Like I said earlier, they call themselves the Illuminati. Okay, illuminated ones. Okay, but it's in wickedness on the left hand side of the spiritual demon Satan. Okay, because the word Illuminati means the lightning ones, and their light is the establish this NWO. Hey, but the Lord Yahweh Shah is gonna put their light out. Okay, by disappointing them when it comes to Yahweh Shai, taking them out of power, that they won't be able to fully, indulge in the NWO. And it says, how oft is the candle of the wicked put out, and how oft come their destruction upon them? Yahweh Bashmal Shai disabute sorrows in his anger. Yeah, so the Lord gonna bring those sorrows upon Esau, Edom. Okay. They are stubble before the wind, and that chaff that the storm carry away. Yeah, because once this place America will be destroyed, that's it. That's the end of their kingdom. Okay, like I say, if eventually in the future they're gonna go into captivity. Okay. Yahweh Bashmal Shai lay up his iniquity for his children. He reward them, and he shall know it. Okay. Yeah, so all of them are gonna get it. Okay, from the elderly to the young. Okay, of these Edomites, man. Okay. And that's proved reincarnation too. Okay, because you might have these, when we tell these Edomites about their future judgment due to them being our enemies and the captivity that we in, the bloodshed. Okay, and in the past times, okay, how America was established off the enslavement of the Negro, Latino, and Native Americans, the bloodshed, and still to this day. Okay, but you got these average Edomites saying that that God forgive. Okay, through Christianity, God love all nations. Okay, that they got the saying that wasn't me, that was my forefathers, not knowing that they are their forefathers coming back. Okay, because the scriptures go into reincarnation. Okay, means back, carnation or carnality means in the flesh. Okay, so those individuals that pass in their past life, they back here today when it comes to Esau, Edom, to receive a judgment. Okay, and all nations are reincarnated. Okay. And it says, verse 20, his eyes shall see his destruction, and he shall drink of the wrath of the Almighty. Yeah, they're going to see their destruction. Okay, when those missiles going to be launched to destroy this place, America, and when they see the chariots as well. Okay, for what pleasure he have in his house after him, when the number of his months is cut off in the midst. Yeah, the number of his months going to be cut off in the midst, meaning they're going to come upon a time that they think they're going to fulfill their NWO, and they think they know they're going to be at their peak, and Yahweh Shah is going to return and disappoint them. Okay. Matter of fact, let's get this. So all this is future prophecy. This is Job chapter 5, verse 12. He disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform the enterprise. Yeah, the enterprise going into the NWO. He take the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the forward is carried headlong. Hey, so Lord got them deceived, man. Okay. And it says they meet with darkness in the daytime and group in noonday as is in the night. So there's all these meetings. Okay, they these secret councils that these elites are having when it comes to their agenda. Okay, when it comes to their their meetings, such as the WEF, Bloomberg. Okay, the certain summits. Okay, over there in Davos was Switzerland. Okay, they're having all these behind the scene meetings. Okay, when it comes to the NWO. Okay, and they set up these agendas and they play it out here on the earth. Okay, through their technology, through their military, through their media. Okay, which is their power on the left hand side. Okay, which is nothing but witchcraft, man. Okay, but eventually Yahweh Shema Shah is going to disappoint them. Okay. Matter of fact, let's get with this Psalms chapter 21, verse 11. For they attempt evil against thee, they imagine a mischievous device which they are not able to perform. So that's the NWO, man. They ain't going to be able to perform it. Okay, because the Lord got them in derision. Okay, like I said, the Lord set them up. Okay, in the power. Okay, to put them, to have them on the high seat, just to bring them down, man. So Yahweh Shema Shah can show his power and glorify his name. Okay, the names of Yahweh Shema Shah, and ultimately glorify the nation of Israel when Yahweh Shah returned to establish the kingdom of Israel. Okay, just like ancient Pharaoh. Okay, and the deliverance of Israel during the time of Exodus, man. Okay, so that's it on that. Let me see. So this the time now. Let's get this. Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. That's going into these elites' agenda. Okay? Because the bed represents their comfortability. Okay? So as they're in power, okay, they have all the resources, the technology to perform the NWO, to practice it, man. Okay? Because it's in the power of their hand. Because the Lord allowed them. Okay, until the Lord take them out of power. Okay, they covered fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, and even a man in his inheritance. And that's what we witness. Okay, especially now as they're moving forward to the NWO as they want to establish. Okay, everything gonna be like I say, carbon footprint. Okay, social credit based scores. When it comes to the MOTB, it has everything gonna be moving digital. Okay, smart cities, surveillance, biometric, martial law, strict legislations. Okay, so that's nothing but more pressure, okay, on the people. Okay, especially when they're going to come to the time of the Negro, Latino, Native Americans. Okay, but their agenda is to oppress the whole world. Okay, when it comes to these elites, they even, like I said, their own people. Okay, as they see nothing but the people here in the world going them. Okay, and as they're in the process want to establish the NWO, they want to cut down the numbers, man, of other nations. But that's it on that. I ain't gonna say too much. Let's get but all of it's the will of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay. And let's get this. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Yeah, when it says, but his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, going to Esau, Edom. Okay? They're not right. They're the wicked. And it says, but the just shall live by faith. And that's the nation of Israel starting with the elect. Okay? And you might say, well, what about wicked Negro, Latino, Native Americans? Yeah, that's the 2/3, man. That's going to be judged. They're going to have to come back in the kingdom. Okay? Because in the kingdom, okay, they're going to have to come back through the elect. Okay? And then during that time, okay, that's when the new covenant is going to be in place when it comes to the nation of Israel. The law, statute, commandments in the nation of Israel inward part, and therefore all Israel going to be righteous. Okay? But ain't gonna be no righteousness for these heathen nations, even though they're gonna have to follow our law, statutes, commandments. Because in our kingdom, that's gonna be the new order. Okay, the kingdom is gonna be governed by the way of the law, statutes, and commandments. Okay, therefore by the people that was given the law, statutes, commandments. Okay, Israel. Okay, starting with the elect. Okay, the body government of Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, but when it comes to these heathen nations, they're gonna have to keep them. But they ain't going to keep them fully because they're going to be still in the sinful flesh. And that's what judgment going to pursue. Okay? And we all know Esau, Edom, they ain't fit to keep the law, statute, commandments. Okay? That's why eventually they're going to be in captivity for 1,000 years. And they're going to be done away with, according to Obadiah 1:18. Okay? When they serve their hard captivity. Okay? And have to, build a kingdom up. And our dwelling places in the earth during that time. Okay, because the earth was made for our sake. Okay, but due to our disobedience, the Lord punished us at this time. As we in captivity here in America and scattered amongst all nations. Okay, and under the curses, according to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 16 through 68. But they're going to be a role reversal. Okay, the Lord going to take the curses off of us and put it on our enemies, man. When the kingdom is fully established, man. Okay, the Lord putting the curses on our enemies now. Okay, but the curses ain't touching these elites yet. Okay, they ain't gonna feel it until they shackle up and go into captivity, man. And it says, verse 5, yea, also, because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarge his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heap unto him all people. And that's the NWO they want to establish, man. Okay, so they want to do it out of order, out of chaos, man. Okay, like I said, mainly when that MOTB. Okay, because according to Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, it says he causes all. Okay, you seen the worldwide. When it comes to the powers, all nations are moving towards a digital currency, and that's prophecy. But the head of it is these elites of Esau, Edom, that's endorsing it. Okay, or pushing, and those that's in league with them. Okay, so that's it on that. Let's get this. Because eventually the Lord going to disappoint us as we going into. Time going to come, the Lord going to transition the power to Yahweh Shai. Okay. Let's get this. Ecclesiasticus chapter 10, verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. Okay. And that's the kingdom might eventually be about that point in time, but the kingdom of Israel about to be established. Okay. Ain't gonna be no NWO for Esau, Edom. That's gonna prolong for years. Okay, ain't gonna be no Chinese, the Arabs, okay, the Africans talking about they got necks. Nah, they're all of them going to captivity, man. Okay, matter of fact, because we know about Revelation chapter 13, verse 9. He that leadeth into captivity shall go in captivity. Okay. But let's get this. Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 16. Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And it's going to Esau, Edom, and these heathens. Okay, all of them. Okay. And it says, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. Okay. So all of them going into captivity, man. Start with the Edomites. Let's get this, matter of fact. Now, get ready to close. This is Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High. And that's Esau Edom at this time. Like I said, AI, technology. Okay. You got the deep fake. Okay, technology. Okay, you got AI talking about getting rid of the existence of the Bible, rewriting the Bible. Okay. You know, how they want to establish the NWO. So that's them speaking great words against Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And it says, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. And that's what their whole point is, intent is to wear us out, man. The saints are the Israelites, man. Okay. And think to change times and laws. Okay. And they shall be given into his hand. And there you go. They shall be given into his hand. Show you that Yahweh Shem Yahushai gave him the power. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and dividing the time. But the judgment shall sit. And now we're at the time of their judgment about to sit. Okay, the Lord about to bring judgment upon Esau Edom. And they shall take away his dominion. They starting with the elect under Yahweh Shai. Okay. We're starting with Yahweh Shai, and the elect joint heirs with Yahweh Shai. And to consume and to destroy it unto the end, and the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Okay. And so the kingdom is only for Israel, man. Okay. Let me see. So the kingdom only for Israel. Let me see. I wanted to say that the kingdom shall be not left to another. That might be Daniel 2. Yep. Daniel chapter 2, verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms and shall stand forever. So our kingdom is going to be an everlasting kingdom, and it's only going to be for Israel, man. Okay, it ain't going to be left to all nations or other nations to be rulers. Okay, now they're going to be servant to or subject unto us. Start with the nation of Edom. And like I say, after the 1,000-year period, Obadiah 1 and 18 going to take effect. Okay, for the Edomites, man. Okay, so that's these elites of their future. Matter of fact, I'll get this and I'll get ready to close. This is Psalms 149, verse 4. The Lord hath taken pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek with salvation. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. And that's the bed. Like I say, the bed represents comfortability. Okay. As we read in Micah chapter 2, verse 1, how Esau Edom was in his bed or his comfort right now in his kingdom. Okay, as we in our captivity, okay, up under them. But it's gonna come a time when the Lord Yahweh Shai established the kingdom. That's gonna be our comfort. Okay. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishment upon the people. Yeah, I quote earlier, Revelation chapter 9, Revelation 13 and 9. He that leadeth to captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed by the sword. Okay, here's the patience and the faith of the saints. Okay, going to how eventually we're going to get payback, recompense, man. Okay, yeah, we're going to have it in a big way, man. Okay, as like I say, in the kingdom we're going to be immortal. Okay, we're going to be superhuman advanced. Okay, spiritual power to execute vengeance on Esau Edom and his heathens. Okay, and it says to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishment upon the people, to bend their canes with chains and their noses with fetters of irons. Okay, slavery. To execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. So it's gonna be an honor, man. Okay, and that's the number that we striving to be part of, man. To be part of the election. Okay, because right now, you know, Esau Edom, about to be taken out of power. But as we in this grace period, okay, we working out our salvation to be covered in the times to come, as Esau ready to push forth his NWO, as leading to Jacob's trouble. Okay, but our faith lies in Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Okay, as I read in Habakkuk 2, the just shall live by faith. Okay, and that the Lord, that we are the election, man. Okay, because me personally, I can't wait, man. Okay, but it's all about right now, taking one day at a time, keep prophesying, preparing ourselves, okay, to be found worthy. Okay, but when the Lord return and deliver his men, and as the nation of Israel, or men, women, and children, or the 1/3 as a whole, and eventually once the kingdom is established, man, hey man, these devils gonna get a rude awakening, man. Okay, and these elites, they scoff and scorn, they laugh now. Okay, and Psalms the 2nd chapter go into that, how they laughing now. Okay, I think they're gonna rule forever and be over us forever. But once again, Yahweh Shem Yahushua gonna disappoint them, man. Okay, and they're gonna go from riches to rags, man, and back to the bottom. Okay, where they belong. Okay, and we're gonna go back on top, man, to rule over all these nations. Okay, especially Esau, Edom. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the lesson here, and I pray that lesson will edify. Till next time, Lord willing. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom.